There are moments when patience runs dry, when someone pushes you so far that you can't help but push back only harder. For me, that moment came the day I found my garage blocked by none other than HOA Karen's shiny luxury car. She thought she had the power to control the whole neighborhood, and parking in front of my house was her way of reminding me who was in charge. But what she didn't expect was how far I was willing to go to reclaim my peace, because the solution I came up with, well, let's just say it involved a helicopter, a surprised mayor, and a very red-faced Karen. I had lived in my suburban neighborhood for about 5 years. It was the kind of place where lawns were trimmed to perfection, mailboxes gleamed in the sun, and everyone waved politely, while secretly competing over whose roses bloomed first. And at the center of it all was Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. She wasn't just on the board, she was the board, dictating everything from how tall your grass could be to what color wreaths were acceptable on your door. My first run-in with her was minor, a note taped to my door about the unsightly basketball hoop my son had left at the edge of our driveway. Then it was complaints about my recycling bin being visible from the street, and later, a letter about my too bright porch lights. At first, I shrugged it off. I thought, this is just HOA life. But over time, her intrusions grew bolder. She strutted around like she owned the neighborhood, barking orders at delivery drivers, scolding kids riding bikes, even rearranging trash cans if they weren't perfectly aligned. Her behavior was grating, but manageable until she started targeting me directly. It began small. Her SUV appeared in front of my house occasionally, usually for just a minute. That minute often stretched into an hour, and sometimes half the day. When I asked her politely to stop blocking my driveway, she waved me off with a smirk and, oh, it's public property. But then came the morning when everything changed. It was a Monday, and I had a meeting across town I couldn't afford to be late for. Coffee in one hand, briefcase in the other. I pressed the garage opener and watched the door lift to reveal my car. Relief until I saw it, parked directly across the entrance. Her gleaming white SUV sat like a blockade, angled just enough that I couldn't squeeze past it even if I tried. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake, but when I marched to her door and rang the bell, Karen emerged in her bathrobe, arms crossed, smirk plastered across her face. "What's the problem?" she asked innocently. "Your car. You're blocking my garage." She tilted her head. "Oh, I'll be gone in a few hours. You can wait, can't you?" And with that, she shut the door in my face. The rage boiled in my chest. I called the police, but they shrugged it was a civil matter. I called the tow company, but as soon as they arrived, Karen ran out screaming that it was harassment, and since the street technically counted as public, they couldn't tow without a city order. She knew the loopholes and exploited them. Day after day, her car appeared in front of my garage. Sometimes it was for an hour, sometimes for the whole afternoon. Each time, her smug grin grew wider. She wanted me trapped, frustrated, humiliated, so I decided to play a different game. One night, after another exhausting day of maneuvering around her blockade, I sat at my computer and started researching. I stumbled across a company that specialized in unconventional problem-solving for difficult property disputes. They offered crane services, flatbeds, even helicopters for unique vehicle relocations. At first, I laughed it off, but then the idea took root. 2 weeks later, I had everything lined up. The morning Karen left her SUV blocking my garage. She probably thought it was business as usual. She strutted off down the sidewalk, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose, sipping from her iced coffee like she owned the world. But this time, a low hum filled the air. Neighbors stepped out onto their porches, pointing at the sky. From above, a helicopter descended, cables dangling like the arms of justice itself. The crew moved quickly, strapping Karen's SUV with professional precision. Within minutes, the car was lifted off the asphalt, dangling helplessly as it rose above the neighborhood. Gasps and laughter rippled through the crowd of onlookers. I stood at the edge of my driveway, coffee in hand, watching with the satisfaction of someone who had finally turned the tables. "Bon voyage," I whispered as the helicopter carried the car away. But where did it go? That was the best part. Instead of dumping it in a lot or towing yard, I had arranged for it to be placed right in the middle of the mayor's perfectly manicured front lawn. Why the mayor? Because Karen constantly bragged about being best friends with him, using his name like a shield whenever she got into trouble. Now, her precious SUV sat there like a monument to her arrogance, in full view of half the city. The fallout was instant. Karen stormed back home hours later, shrieking when she saw her car was gone. She hammered on my door, demanding to know what I had done. But before I could answer, the police arrived, summoned not by her, but by the mayor himself. He was furious, humiliated by the spectacle of her car, dropped on his pristine lawn like a piece of trash. The officers had already reviewed the situation. Witnesses told them how she had been blocking me for weeks. Video footage from my security cameras confirmed her deliberate harassment. While they couldn't charge her for blocking my garage since technically it was public, they could cite her for repeated nuisance behavior, harassment, and HOA misconduct. The mayor himself, embarrassed by the public mockery, cut ties with her instantly. At the next HOA meeting, the vote was swift and brutal. Karen was removed from her position, stripped of her authority, and slapped with fines for abusing her power. Her influence, once towering over the neighborhood, crumbled in a matter of days. As for me, I finally had my peace. No more blocked garage, no more smug notes on my door, no more unwanted visits. My neighbors, once too scared to stand up to her, began thanking me quietly for doing what they couldn't. And every time I pulled out of my garage, I smiled at the memory of her SUV dangling helplessly in the air, a symbol of justice that had finally landed where it belonged. Because sometimes, when you're pushed too far, the best solution isn't just to fight back, it's to outsmart the bullies so completely they never recover. And Karen, she definitely didn't see this one coming.